You have a sheet on you? Mr. Mouton, good morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
Name's Dustin Mouton, DOC number 594-032.
All right, and Mr. Mouton, you've been through this process before, so you're familiar with it, so we'll just dive right into it. So for the record, sir, you're classified as a second, currently serving a 14-year sentence, indecent behavior with a juvenile. Your parole eligibility was December 13, 2019. You do not earn good time. Your full term date is December 13, 2026. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me acknowledge you have some folks who are here in support today. You have your former employer, Mr. Rhett Hanegraaff, brother Andrew Mouton, David Mouton Jr., another brother Nathaniel Mouton, and your stepmother, Ms. Dorothy Cormier. Mr. Hanegraaff, Mr. Andrew, and Mr. David will be speaking on your behalf. So you were seeing, Mr. Mouton, your case was assigned to me, so I'm going to take the lead on the interview. You were seen in October of 2020, and you were denied. Now, do you remember the reason you were given for the denial?
Yes, ma'am. I was denied because I wasn't able to complete the risk management program, and the judge and there was something else.
There was other opposition that was expressed.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you, sir?
31, about to be, no, excuse me, 32, about to be 33.
How much time have you served on this sentence?
10 and a half.
10.5 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And so since then, you have you completed the sex offender treatment?
Yes, ma'am, and I'm recently a facilitator in the treatment program right now.
So that's like phase 5,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So let me ask you about, there was law enforcement opposition last time. Of course, that is still there. That opposition is still present. And there's other opposition on behalf of the victim that's there. So let's speak about the victim. How old was the victim when you were originally charged with 4 counts of aggravated rape?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how old was the victim when all this started?
She was 14, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. I think she was 14 and I was 19.
There's some indication that she could have been younger than that it went on for a period of time.
Excuse me?
There's some indication in the record that she could have been younger than that. I think it was reported when she was age 14. So it happened obviously on more than one occasion.
Yes, ma'am. It was multiple occasions. She used to come and sleep at the house and come to my job and visit all the time. I was a friend of the family, and that's what makes it so bad.
Started when she was about 10 years old.
The confession I gave, I thought it put her at 12. I said, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous. The confession I gave, I said I was 17 when it happened, thinking that would help me being underage at the time, not realizing the age that it put her at. And that's what I was convicted. I was convicted on my confession, the confession I gave. And what happened was that she was 13, 14 when the crimes that happened. They happened at my house. She would come over, spend the night. And I don't want to seem like it's all my fault. I should have been an adult. And I realized that, and I truly am sorry. I wish I can talk to her and tell her that the things I've done in my past, that's not who I am. I feel like I come a long way from 2012 when I was convicted to right now. And I just, like I said, I wish I can, if she was on, I would apologize.
So let's talk about your treatment, your sex offender treatment, because that was specifically mentioned the last time you were seen by the parole board. What
Yes.
did you learn about you in that class?
What I've learned is you should never take advantage of no child underage or anything. You have to take responsibility of what you've done being a sex offender, and don't put yourself or others in any position to even commit the crime or be around anything that's going on around them. Being underage or even of age, it doesn't matter the age, really, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So, how long have you been a facilitator?
Since November or December of last year,
About 6 months.
yes, ma'am.
So the last time we saw you, you had your last write-up was in 2019. Have you had since then?
No, ma'am, that is my last write-up.
And since 2020, what has been, have you had any program opportunities? Have you taken advantage of any programs?
Yes, ma'am, I've, as y'all know, I've completed, like I said, I completed the risk management class. I went and took a Surf Safe class to learn about food, how to handle, to be safe with that. I've took it's called Life in Focus, which is, it touches every topic on drug usage, because in my past I've done drugs. And it touches bases on drugs, what it does to you, mindset, body, different classes on drugs. And I'm enrolled right now in IC3, learning about computers, how to fill out applications, what's all components of the computer.
All that since last hearing?
Ma'am,
All of that is since your last hearing in October of 2020.
yes, ma'am.
Well, you've been busy.
I tried to.
So have you been able to take victim awareness?
No, ma'am. They
Have you
just
ever
started.
asked for,
Ma'am,
you ever asked to take that class?
I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
Have you ever asked to take that
Yes.
class?
Yes, ma'am. I asked the chaplain who's over the class if he could put me in, but he said they had already started, and I'd asked him if I could get in, and to get it, even if I had to, after class is complete, go back and finish the classes the part of the class that I missed. And he said he couldn't do it. I asked my risk management counselor to see if there was any way that she could have got me in it, and she couldn't.
Right. So let me ask you this. What is your expectation to get out of that class?
Ma'am, to get in the
What is
class,
what is your expectation? What do you expect to get out of that class?
the risk management, the
Victim.
awareness. I don't know much about it, but what they were saying is more of to let you know that it's not just the victim. There's more to a victim is their family, my family, me, their surrounding families. It's never, you're not just hurting one person. You're hurting everyone, every loved one with
So
the
that's
victim.
what you heard others talk about. So have you given any thought on the impact your crime has had on that minor victim?
Yes, yes, I have. I thought about that a lot. Yes, I really have.
Share some of your thoughts.
I've thought about how I took advantage of a young child, and I wish, like I said, I wish I can tell her I'm sorry, and that I can take it back. And I just wish I would have. I wouldn't. This part of my life wouldn't. I wouldn't have happened, but it happened.
You mentioned earlier about substance abuse. Have you taken any substance abuse classes?
Yes, ma'am. I took living in balance, phase 1 and 2. Like I mentioned, life in focus. I took phase 1, 2, and 3 of that class.
And Life in Focus is a substance abuse education program.
It's the alcohol chemical class. Yes, ma'am.
What are your future plans, Mr. Mouton? Should you be released earlier, where would you go?
I would go live with my stepmom and my dad in Oakdale. They have some property out there. I have multiple jobs lined up. As you'll see, my brother Nathaniel, he's called a couple people he's worked for and lined me up with some jobs. I had my stepmom call the probation officer to get all my registration, so we know where we stand with registration. Filling the card.
You have some significant challenges because of your crime.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that, and my family understands that, and they're willing to help me, and I'm grateful for that I have a good support system.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. I don't have any other questions. We'd like to hear from Warden Thompson. Is there anything to add?
Yes, ma'am. I can honestly say he's been trying. We had him working on the trustee program a little while back, where he's doing a lot of work for the facility, and the facility grounds looking very good. He's completed a lot of classes, as far as the sex offender classes and all. I just suggest, in my opinion, he just needs to continue enrolling in much classes as needed and all possible. Matter of fact, I have Ms. Holmerson right now go and check on and see when at all possible, you probably be able to actually get into that victim awareness class that you were just speaking upon.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. So, Mr. Hannibal, could we hear from you, please, sir?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am listed as a former employer. I'm far more than a former employer. I've been in contact with Dustin anywhere from 2 to 10 times a month for the duration of time he's been in. I've seen everything that he's done, down to the quality of work that he does on his belts and furniture and everything that he's made and learned, all the classes. I have a construction company. I met Dustin originally whenever I had a tire shop. I was 15 years old when I opened the tire shop. I was bought out whenever I was 20. Dustin stuck with me through that at that time. But the number one thing that I believe matters in this situation is I know my mind frame, being a business owner now of a construction company and a sawmill. And I know that my mind frame, whenever I was even 21, 22 to 25, is not the mind frame I have now at 31 years old. I've constantly grown, and I've seen Dustin grow nonstop throughout the years of the communications and everything that he's done and tried. He will forever have a home, a roof over his head, a job I'll work around his schedule with whatever classes he has to take. I will give him any tool that he could ever imagine to further not only working for me, but to eventually open his own thing, to be something besides what he was so many years ago. He will forever have a hand with me forever. That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, family, Mr. Andrew moves on.
Can y'all hear me?
Dan,
I'm here to support him emotionally, physically, and stuff like that. If he needs any help, I'm here, you know, when he gets out and stuff.
great. Good. He's fortunate. Is David there with you also?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Just wanted to say I'm ready for him to come home. He's got a huge support system here with us. Brothers, stepmom, dad. He's got a home. He's got work lined up. People are willing to give him a job. And I'm here to help him in any way I can, like I've been doing. And I just want y'all to know that he's got a good support system.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. We appreciate y'all taking the time to speak with us today. Dustin, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we vote?
I just hope y'all see that I'm not the same person that I was then so many years ago. Just hope y'all see I changed and y'all willing to give me a chance so I can prove to y'all, not just y'all, but my family, even the victim, that I'm not the same person, that I can be a better person. I will be a better person for family and all.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first. And you know, yours is a very difficult case, Justin.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a terrible crime, very young victim. And you knew what you were doing. But when you were seen last, you were encouraged, you were denied because you hadn't completed sex offender treatment. And you've
Yes,
done that. And you're serving as a facilitator. And so you've done everything we've asked you to do. I'm going to vote to grant your parole. It requires a unanimous vote, so I'm just one, but it would be after victim awareness class. But whenever that is, whenever they can get you enrolled in that. And then after release, of course, you'll have to comply with all the terms of your sex offender contract. You'll be required, there's some requirements there you'll be required to sign. You're to submit to random drug screens by your PO. Of course, no contact whatsoever with the victim or the victim's family. And then you have no unsupervised contact with anyone for the duration of your supervision or the duration of your contract. That's my vote. Mrs. Wise.
All right, Dustin, I want you to know that you prepared well for today. You've done a lot of good. I saw that you were a registered tutor, so you got engaged. You started helping others. You did a great harm. You healed yourself, and you started helping others. And you got good support here today. For those reasons, my vote is to grant as well after you complete the victim awareness and victim impact class. And I concur with the special conditions set forth. Best wishes to you.
Mrs. Jackson. And Dustin, my vote is the same. All right. I'd like to.
Thank you.
Gordon, I think that concludes our business. We're going to adjourn. It's 11:10.
Yes,
It's out today.
Thank you all as well. Thank you.
All right, Dustin.
Yes, ma'am.
So how does this hearing make you feel? It's interesting to see the whole family in that kind of celebration. They're having their son, their brother, their comeback. He served 10 and a half years on a 14-year sentence. He otherwise would be getting out in 2026 on his full term, so he's getting out about 2.5 years early. And here's what I'll tell you, what I thought I saw in this hearing. And what I thought I saw in this hearing was still victim blaming. He said multiple times, she would come to the house. She would come to my work. You know, he made it a point to say, she would come to my work. She would sleep over. What I hear is him saying, what am I supposed to do? She was coming over. That's what he said at his parole hearing. And that just leads me to think that he's still victim blaming. If you were wondering about why they thought that she was younger and what he was charged with for her being even younger, maybe at the age of 10, was because he had lied to the detectives. He told the detectives, I was 17 years old, thinking that would make him a minor, without realizing that if he's 17 when it started, she would have been 10. So he did a confession, and they're like, you're going to lie to us? We'll take your word for it. Do you believe him that that's what he did? Yeah, I actually do. But here's the thing. Assuming she was 14 when it started and he was 19. I don't know about you, but at 19 years old, I wouldn't be caught dead with hanging out with the 14-year-old. Forget looking at a 14-year-old. The difference between how much you grow and change. You're a full-grown man at 19, and you're just in the earliest stages of your childhood at 14. And what he did is change the entire course of her life. He took advantage of her. He went to prison for a long time for it. More time served than other cockroaches that have done worse things to toddlers, to their own grandchildren under the age of 3. And that's where the sentencing thing just never makes sense to me. You know, I've said this before at other hearings. I'm a Chris Hansen fan. I've listened, of course, probably like you, if you're into him, watch all his stuff. He has a podcast that's great. I listen to all of it. And he brings up kind of like the 3 different types of predators, right? There's the type that is absolutely obsessed with children. They just can't help it. It's what they live for. think about, dream about, breathe about. Their life revolves around it. You'll probably find content on their phone if you took it, and hard drives hidden in places, and they're the ones that will find a woman who has children and marry them just for, that's like the worst class. The second class is someone who isn't like that, but they're just impulsive, they're selfish, they're maybe narcissistic, they never thought about it, but wow, there's an opportunity. Wow, there's a 14-year-old sleeping over. Haha, I'm gonna go take advantage. That's like the second class. And there's another form of that. I think there's the type that are very insecure. They have a hard time finding, women their own age, and they seek out younger people because they can impress them. They can feel better about themselves. Maybe everyone, when you were 16, there was always that one person who was like 19 or 20 that hung out in your group, and he had the car and he was so cool and he had money, and you only realize like kind of later on, it's like, that dude's a loser. Like, why is he hanging out with us? And it was because he's insecure. At least that's what I think. And so I think that's also another type. And then there's like the third type where they say, ooh, is it Romeo and Juliet? Is he a senior and she's a sophomore? And there's interesting, on his last podcast just last week, this is late June, if you're watching it, late June 2023, he had someone that drove to meet a minor, and he was, I don't know, I think he was like 20 years old, and or whatever, but he was going to meet a 15-year-old, and he was caught. And it turns out that he had a previous felony where he served prison time. Well, first he was given probation, and then he failed his probation, so he was given prison time. But he was a senior, and she was a freshman. He was like 18, and she was like, I don't know, 14 or something. And he got probation, and then violated it for like a driving charge or something, and then went to prison. So this was his second offense. And that was interesting, the idea that it was his second offense, someone, where you might have put him in that Romeo Juliet category, or maybe the insecurity category. But then he put it all on the line to do it again. So from seeing that scenario, I'm just forced to wonder, which category does this guy lie in? Is he someone who obsesses over children, or is he someone who's just impulsive and will take advantage? But either way, it's scary. He also didn't remember, when Miss Renata asked him, how come you were denied last time? And he said, well, there was like police opposition and some other opposition. I don't remember. Something I don't remember. And Mr. Renata's like, yeah, there was other opposition, which we know was victim opposition. And he's, again, played it off like he didn't remember. Which is, again, it's like manipulation. It's like, why didn't you just say it was victim opposition? And there was that same opposition this time, too, I believe. We heard it. It was kind of like, read between the lines, but Ms. Renata said there's other opposition. Now, it's not the same thing. Like if a victim gets up and makes a statement, or that they may have kept him in for the full sentence. We don't know. We have seen plenty of times. We have seen when a victim came up crying on the phone, and it was terrifying. And they ended up not letting him out, but he only had like a 5-year sentence. It was, but maybe they would have kept him in longer. if the victim had come up and done that, and we don't have clarity around what happened, but in my opinion, straight up, if the victim said, I'm still dealing with this, I'm still traumatized, this is affecting my life, he just needs to serve his full sentence. And I don't know, we just don't really have clarity about that. You just hope that he's not going to do something like this again. That he has served a lot of time, a large chunk of his life he'll never get back, and hopefully he's in that category where he's not a full-blown cockroach. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. These are the one of the cases where I like to really come back and read all the comments and help me formulate a thought process around this one. But that's it. And with that, I'll let you go.